A viewpoint or perspective on a problem belongs to an individual or can be shared by a group of people. For a project, it is important to identify and understand the various viewpoints held by the range of people or stakeholders involved in the project. It is when we have a collective view of the problem that we can begin to define it. Consider the idea of a problem that is not clear because it has many features, some of which may be contradictory. Therefore, it has a fuzzy shape that cannot be clearly shown on a diagram. As a stakeholder, we might have our own view of what the problem is about, and we can try to write down these views as a set of perspectives or requirements. Our awareness of the problem dictates how many requirements we can define. If we can only see part of the problem, then our list of requirements will be incomplete. We need to ask other stakeholders what are their perspectives on the problem. In this way, we can identify another set of requirements that may be different to our own. Some of these requirements may reveal and clarify more of the problem than our own limited view. There may be some requirements that overlap with our perspectives, providing an alternative viewpoint about that part of the problem. If the views are similar or in agreement, this overlap might allow us to create a richer, more detailed perspective than our viewpoint alone. However, if the views are different, perhaps contradictory, then this provides us with an opportunity to investigate and challenge this difference to determine which perspective is most relevant. Sometimes both perspectives need to be addressed and a compromise reached between them. It will be helpful to determine further viewpoints to establish more of the problem and other areas of overlap. A project manager should spend time on identifying and understanding these overlaps as a way to clarify more of the problem. As soon as a stakeholder is identified, it is important and urgent to understand their viewpoints of the problem. We should do this early in the project, before the problem has been assessed and agreed. However, if a stakeholder is not identified until later in the project, then it is still very important to involve this stakeholder immediately in order to understand their requirements. We might need to be prepared to modify the project, if necessary, to include any new changed requirements. Throughout, it is important to consider any overlaps in the viewpoints and to discuss with stakeholders how the problem can be identified to include all the perspectives if possible. Once all of the viewpoints have been identified and assessed, the range of perspectives can be defined and clearly written down as a definition of the problem, mapping the requirements into a combined statement of the problem. This will include resolution of any conflicting requirements that may be embedded in the overlaps. Once this mapping is complete, a clear and combined perspective of the project will become clear. This combined perspective will reflect the individual perspectives of all the stakeholders and provide an overall definition of the problem. This definition can then be used to develop appropriate solutions that can be developed and planned. In summary, by investigating all of the stakeholder viewpoints, a more complete picture of the problem can be identified. Further, this provides a means to involve stakeholders in the project to create a more cooperative working environment that will benefit the project. It is important to investigate any overlaps in viewpoints, if necessary, to find a suitable compromise that will satisfy all the stakeholders and will benefit the project outcome.